everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. Before we get started, be sure that you're subscribed here on YouTube. It is completely free to subscribe and I would love to have you as part of my crafty family. Now today's video is one that we're going to go over and do 3 separate projects here with Cricut. The first project we're going to do is an adhesive vinyl project, and we're going to talk about layering and how to make sure that everything is set up correctly in your Cricut so that you get a good quality cut. We are also going to do a project with some cardstock. We're going to make this fun little simple card. This is a really easy project and a great intro to working with cardstock. And then last but not least, we're going to do some print and cut. I'm just going to make these fun holographic tags. This is a great intro video if you have never worked with Cricut before, but even if you have, stick around because I think you're going to pick up some great tips and tricks. Now, this video, we're going to use all these designs from Creative Fabrica, and if you're interested in trying them out, you can get a free trial that I'll link down below. So let's go ahead and get started.
Whatever we would do it just for fun. You only get so many trips around the sun.
The first thing we need to do is download our design that we're going to use for our adhesive vinyl. I picked this pretty little retro flower design. I thought it would be fun and with a couple colors and fairly easy so that you guys can really get started with your Cricut right away. What we're going to do is click download and it's going to bring up a folder and ask us where we want to save this. So I'm going to go back a couple folders just so you can see how I do this. So what I do is I'm going to make a folder that makes sense for this to go in. So for me, because I'm using this with this course, I want to put it in my Cricut beginner course folder and I want to put it in files for video. Then all I'm going to simply do is click save. Now we do need to extract our folder, so you want to open up the zipped folder, and all you simply have to do is click extract all. Then just click extract. Now when you open this, you're going to see that you have several different file types. Now if you've watched the terms video, you know a couple of the terms, but other ones I didn't really go over because they're not items that you would use with the Cricut. So we have a DXF and an EPS file. Neither one of those are you going to use with your Cricut. However, we do have a PNG and what is under a Microsoft Edge HTML document. This is the SVG. Mine opens like this because I don't have a default program set to open my SVGs, so yours may show as an HTML file as well, but that is your SVG. Let's head over to Design Space and I'll show you how to upload. Over in Design Space, uploading is very simple. All you need to do is click this upload button. Then click Upload Image. Now you can browse for your image where you have to go through your folders and find it, or leave that extracted folder open and you can just drag and drop. Now I want to make sure that I'm using the colored version of this and I want to make sure I use the SVG. So again, that's the HTML document. I'm going to right click. I'm going to left click on it, hold that mouse button down, drag it, and let go of the mouse button when I'm over Design Space. You'll see our flowers here, and all we simply have to do is click Upload. Go ahead and select this uploaded image and click Add to Canvas. This is such a simple, easy task. I know that you can do this. Now, what I kind of love about this is it's going to show you some other great ways to kind of work with SVGs and make sure that they're easier to cut. So right now, it looks perfect on the screen. Everything looks great. So let's just say, let's go ahead, let's hit make it and see what happens. Because I'm going to show you this to show you how to fix this. This is a really common problem, especially for new people using the Cricut. You'll see that everything is out of order. And honestly, who wants to piece all of this together? Certainly not me and certainly not you. You're going to get a lot of files that come like this, and it's a lot of times just because they didn't follow another step when creating the design. But that's okay. We can fix it, and I'm going to show you how. What I want you to do is hit cancel here on the screen because we're not going to cut it. And then what we need to do is do what's called ungrouping. You'll see that our entire design falls under this main category in our layers panel. And then we have all these other layers under it. So what you're going to do is select the top layer, and I want you to click these 2 squares. Those are the ungroup squares. Go ahead and click on those. Now what you're going to see is you don't have a major heading, but you have all these little pieces all individually. The first thing that we're going to do to make life a lot easier is we're going to be doing some welding to create single layers. Now there's certain pieces in here that I really don't want to make into a single layer. These yellow pieces are going to waste a lot of vinyl, and that's going to be our last thing to put on, and those are going to be very easy to line up, so I'm just going to completely skip over those ones. But let's first start with these pink ones because those look like they're all pretty much in the same section. What you're going to do is first click on one of the pink sections. Then holding Shift, or if you're using a Mac, you're going to hold Command on your keyboard, click each of these pink pieces over in your layers panel. You'll have all your pink pieces selected, and then I want you to go down to Combine, and I want you to hit Weld. What that's going to do is it's going to turn this all into one single layer. Now when you look, you have that pink flower all by itself. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing here to this orange. I'm going to select all of our little orange pieces just by holding Shift. I'm going to go to Combine and Weld. Now, to kind of help us see what we're working with, you can actually hide the layers you've previously welded. By using this little eyeball here, if you click on that, it's going to show you if you've missed any parts. So we definitely missed some with the orange, but let's check pink. Pink looks good. So since I know I've missed some, I can see them right here. I'm going to go ahead and select these missing pieces and the big part that we welded. I'm going to go down to Combine, and I'm just going to weld again. That's going to turn that orange flower into its full flowery piece. Now we can do the same here for this tan flower. So I'm just going to go through and find all those tan pieces, go to Combine, click Weld, and then I'm going to go ahead and hide the tan flower. The reason I do that is it makes it easier to see if you've missed any pieces or if anything looks like it's out of place. Now I'm going to grab all the green, and I'm going to go ahead and weld that as well, just to make it a lot easier when we go to cut this and put it all together with the vinyl. Now go ahead and you can show your flowers back up because you want those to be seen. If you keep them hidden, they will not cut. Now I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and just check the sizing. So I'm just going to select the whole design. Now it is going to be pretty big, so I'm going to size it down a little bit because I think that's a little large for like anything I would put it on. So I'm going to make it about 5 inches. That's usually a pretty happy place for like most decals that I make. So I think that looks pretty good. Go ahead and click Make It from here, and you're going to see such a difference when we go to this screen. You'll notice that our flowers are all held together. The only thing that isn't are these yellow dots, because like I said, those are going to be really easy to line up, so I wouldn't personally bother wasting vinyl. And then we have our green piece and finally our pink piece. From here, we can go ahead and cut these on the vinyl. Now keep in mind that it does not matter what color you have selected in Design Space. Cricut will not know what color vinyl we put on our mat. So it doesn't matter what color we use, or maybe we change our minds. The color in Design Space is just to give you a good visual before you get ready to cut out your vinyl. So let's go ahead and head over to the machine and cut this out. We're ready to start cutting out our vinyl, and being that we're using multiple layers, I like to put my vinyl in the order that it's going to cut out. That way it's easier to not mess it up, get it all in the right order. You know which order you're going in. So I cut mine down to size just because it's a little bit easier for me. And what I'm going to do is place my vinyl onto my mat. And you can see here, I always put it up in this upper left-hand corner. That's where the Cricut's going to cut it. We're going to load each color as we go, cut them out, and then I will show you how to weed. Now, if you've watched the terms video, you know that we went over a term called weeding. And weeding is removing any parts of your vinyl, your HTV, your cardstock that are not part of your final project. So for this one, we're going to weed out anything that isn't a piece of the petals, the leaves, or the background. So you can see here, we've taken off all this vinyl and we have the pieces that we want to keep left. So that is how weeding works. I'm going to do each of these pieces. Now I definitely could have trimmed these off a little bit smaller, But I just wanted to make sure that we were well covered for any of our vinyl pieces. Now, occasionally they might get stuck to your vinyl like this. I think I need to change the blade in my machine. If that happens, just press your finger on them, and usually you can pretty easily break that little seal that they might have because they maybe didn't cut quite thick enough through, and that's okay. It happens from time to time. So I'm going to go ahead and finish weeding all of our pieces here, and then when we come back, I'm going to show you how we're going to assemble everything together. We are now ready to place our decal, and we're gonna just put it on this cute little notebook. You can really add adhesive vinyl to just about any hard surface, which is great. This is a permanent vinyl, but you could absolutely use a removable as well. I'm using a medium tack transfer tape. And all I'm going to do is lay this green piece onto my transfer tape, and then I'm going to cut a big square around it because we'll reuse this piece of transfer tape until we can't reuse it anymore. Another tool that you're going to want to make sure you have is a squeegee. You don't want to use the plastic one that comes with the Cricut tools. That is not a good squeegee. It is going to damage your products. It's too hard, too plastic, and a lot of times it breaks on this little sharp edge, and then you end up with these jagged pieces, and then it damages stuff that way. So I'm using a rubber squeegee, and by using this rubber squeegee, it's a little more pliable. It can bend a little bit. It's not going to damage my notebook. It's not going to damage my vinyl. So what I'm doing is burnishing this down so that it sticks to the transfer tape. Then I'm going to take the backing off of our vinyl, and you'll see here that it's stuck to the transfer tape. Then all I'm going to do is figure out where this goes onto my notebook here. Now for this, I am going to kind of use this as a little bit of a guide because this is going to sit a little close to the edge, but I don't want it all the way on the edge. So I'm just using this to sort of help me figure out about where my design needs to go. So you can see that my little petal here has an indent for where the green goes. So I think the green will go right there and it'll be perfect. So all I'm going to do is set my green down. Then I'm going to come in with my squeegee and burnish it again. This time you're burnishing it to activate the adhesive. It is adhesive for permanent and removable vinyl is pressure sensitive, meaning that when you press it down, it's going to activate that adhesive. Then all I'm going to do is very carefully peel back my transfer tape, and you can see that I peel it back at a very sharp corner angle here, where I'm almost basically just fold it over itself. Now we have our leaves or our stems, whatever you want to call those, laying down. Now I'm going to go ahead to my next one using that same piece of transfer tape, burnish that one, and I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to remove the backing from my vinyl, making sure that all my pieces and parts stay stuck down. Now I do have a photo of this next to me so that I can make sure that I'm lining this up correctly. You may not remember exactly which way it goes down. It's always helpful to have a little picture where you can see how your design is set up. That way you don't mess anything up. I think that looks good. Go ahead and burnish that down, and I'm going to take my transfer tape off. Now you want to go slow when you first start out with this because it is a learning experience, and you may end up with some bubbles and things like that in your adhesive vinyl. The only way to really get good at not getting bubbles is to practice. I still get bubbles to this day, but it is a lot easier now that I have been doing this for so long that it is a lot easier for me not to get bubbles in this, but don't fret, you might if you're new to working with vinyl. One way to really help with that is to make sure that you really commit to where you're setting it down and that you are also using good quality transfer tape as well as good quality vinyl. I'm going to go ahead and finish this. I've just got this last flower up here, and then I just have our little flower centers. So this last little flower up here, the stem sits inside of like that. And you can see how pretty this is coming together. Go ahead and burnish that down. Go ahead and peel that back. And then we just have to do the little centers of our flowers, which these you can just pick up with your transfer tape, just like so. And they're all pretty much the same, so I'm not super concerned about placing like one in the exact right spot. So you can just sort of guess where they go. They're all very, very similar shaped, even though they're just a little different. But I think it's totally fine if they're not perfectly in the right flower from the design, because again, they look so similar, no one's going to notice. And you notice how quickly these little guys go down. I don't even use my squeegee with those because they're so small, you can just use your finger. So let me get you a little closer view of that, and look at how cute that is. This was really easy. I should have moved it a little bit this way, but that's okay, because honestly, like, my finger touches this part of the book a lot, so that'll help keep the vinyl from getting damaged, and I can always add like my name or something along the side. So that is how you work with adhesive vinyl. We're going to do this super fast because it's exactly like the other ones. Click download to download your image. Then you're going to go ahead and save it into your folder. Extract that folder as soon as it's ready to be extracted, and then head over to Cricut Design Space. From here, click upload, upload the image, and then you can either browse for it or use your folder. I want to make sure that I'm going to use the intricate cut Thanksgiving card. This one doesn't really matter color-wise which one I choose, but I'm just going to go with the orange one and click upload. I'm going to go ahead and add this to my canvas and click add to canvas. Super easy. Now from here, we're going to want to size this to the size that we want the front of our card to be, because we're going to need to add some squares to this. But this is super easy, and it's really going to teach you a few things that you can use with Design Space to make sure that you've got like this stuff down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize this. I do usually like a 5x7 card. This is sized a little bit funny, so I'm going to size it just a little bit below 5x7 because I want a little bit of a border around it when I go to put it on my card. Now from here, we're going to open up a rectangle. So I'm going to use shapes, and I'm just going to open up a square. It doesn't matter what shape you open, whether you use the rectangle or the square. Then at the top here, I want to use the unlock button to change my sizing. So here you can see that we're 4.874 wide and 9.916 high. So I want to make it 5 wide by 9 high. Not 9. Oh my, no. Only 7 high. And what you're going to see is that it's going to be just a little bit bigger than this orange piece here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this and send it to the back just so you can see a little bit better what I'm talking about and how it's a little bit smaller. Now, of course, it's a card, so it should open and close, correct? I agree. So let's go ahead and move this out of the way for a second. And what we're going to do is I'm going to duplicate this card right here, just this square. Now to make my life easier, I'm going to change the color of one of them, and I'm just going to make it whatever. It doesn't matter what color. It won't matter right now. I'm going to take both of these squares and I'm going to select them both, and I want to align them, and I'm going to align their tops. Now obviously they're sitting a little farther apart than I would like them to be. I want them to overlap just the slightest little teeny tiny bit, because I want to be able to cut this like a card. So right now they're not overlapping. I need it to overlap just a little. It doesn't need to overlap a lot. And the other thing that you can do, you can always just take it and make one of the sides a little bit bigger if you're having trouble overlapping. So I just want to make this a little bit bigger to make sure that everything's going to line up. So I'm going to unlock it again, and I'm just going to make this 5.05 wide. That way it lines up a little bit better. Then I'm going to select both the yellow and the gray squares. I'm going to go to combine, and I'm going to weld them. This is going to become the actual card itself, the part that we're going to fold to create our writing. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up my shapes, and I'm just going to open a line. This line is going to be a score line, so it's easier to fold our card. Now I want to make my line a little bit longer than my card is high. So my card's 7 inches. So I'm going to select my score line, which sometimes is not easy. If you're trying to select it here, you maybe can't. Just select it over in your layers panel. I want to make it high. I want to make it let's go like 7.07. Doesn't really matter, just so long as it's a little bit longer than your card. Then what I'm going to do is select the gray square and the score line. I want to go to a line and I'm going to center it horizontally. And then I'm also going to center it vertically. Now you could also just do the plain old center and that will center it as well. We have to do one more step to make sure that this is going to cut out correctly and score correctly. We're going to use the attach option. So from here, we have got our pumpkin part. That's going to go on the front of our card. And then we have our card piece. Now you can cut them in any color that you want to, however you want to do it. It's up to you. I'm going to click Make It and show you what this is going to look like on our different pages. So we're going to need to use probably a 12 by 12 sheet of paper, but you could lay an 8.5 by 11 down and it would still cut. You just need to lay it long ways, not horizontally. You need to lay it landscape. And then we have our pumpkin part ready to cut. Now I like to use the medium cardstock setting. Let's head over to the machine and I'm going to show you how to lay this out, change out our tool for our scoring wheel, and get everything cut out. We're going to be cutting out the cardstock. So the first thing that we need to do is load in the scoring wheel tool. And this tool is either 01 or if you have the double scoring wheel, it's 02, and it goes into the quick swap housing. To change your tool, you're going to open clamp B, which is the clamp on the right hand side. Go ahead and open that clamp, pull out your original fine point blade, and place in your new blade. You're going to line up those gold gears. If you're using the Explore machine, you will need to use the scoring stylus. The scoring stylus is placed into clamp A, which is your pen holder. You're going to hold your finger under the clamp, under the holder here. Put your scoring wheel in and then push down until it clicks. Once it clicks, you can go ahead and close that clamp. Now, like I said, we're using our maker, so I'm not going to be using the scoring stylus, but that is an option. Then I want to load my paper onto my light grip mat. The light grip mat is perfect for cardstock. And you just want to go ahead and get this lined up as straight as you can, and you want to make sure that it's well held down to your mat. It's going to score first, then we will change back to our fine point blade and we'll be able to cut everything out. Now that it's done scoring, you don't want to unload the mat. You go ahead and open clamp B and you want to replace your fine point blade into clamp B. Go ahead and close that, hit the Cricut button, and now it will cut out. Now we're going to do our orange, and I'm using a smaller sheet for this because I don't need to use a large 12 by 12, and I really like the shade of this orange. I'm going to go ahead and load this in. We're going to let it cut out, and then we will be able to assemble our card. Once this is done cutting, go ahead and unload. Now, just like we did with the black, we want to flip this over and we want to remove the cardstock from the mat in that same fashion. And you also want to be very careful. Sometimes your mats get old. This one is a well-loved old mat, and it did finally crack. That can happen, and you'll be able to see kind of where like it's cut a bunch of times, but that's okay. You can still get it off. Don't worry. Just be gentle with your mats. Like I said, this is a really old mat. You can tell because this one has the flowers on it from Cricut. So this is just a super old mat. I'm not really worried about it. Just be gentle when you're removing, and you just want to gently, and you see how I'm kind of folding my mat back a little bit and then holding down my cardstock with my hand. Now you're going to have parts where you're going to probably need to pull the cardstock out. I'm going to go ahead and set this over to the side. We'll throw that mat out. I'm kind of glad that happened on camera so you could see that nobody's perfect. I've been doing this for years and I've still broken a mat or two. Now you may have some pieces that are still stuck in your cardstock. That's okay. Just very gently kind of work them out. Sometimes they get stuck because they're just small and they're like little tiny pieces didn't cut, or they just stuck because when you pulled them off, they got twisted in there a little bit. So don't worry too much about how they got stuck or why. Just take your time to kind of go through and pull them out. You're going to want to be gentle, especially around these really small intricate cuts. And then I do have some of these little dots that got stuck in the gourd and in the pumpkin. So I'm going to go ahead and pop those out. If you can't get all of them, you can always use a pin pen, but I think it's looking pretty good. I see 1 or 2 more little spots that I've got to get some paper out of. Just pull those out. And I think that is everything. So go ahead and toss those to the side. I'm going to bring our black piece back in with our score line in the center, and I don't know how well you can see that score line. Now we're going to be ready to assemble our card. So if I turn this a little bit, you can see where that score line is. That's what we're going to fold on to create our card. Now you can either fold this way or this way. Both work with the score line. It's really just up to you and which way you prefer to fold. I'm going to fold that over, and then we're going to put our little pumpkin design just right on top. Now you can do this in a couple of different ways. You could use foam tape, you can use glue dots, you can use regular glue. It's really up to you and how you want to do it. I've got these really fun glue dots, and these work really well. They might be a little bit too big for the corners though. So that's kind of one thing I always just kind of look, and I think they're just going to be a little too big. That's okay. We can use foam tape because that is another great option for this. It's going to give it a little bit of a 3D look, and I'm able to cut this so that it's really thin and small so that it'll fit on around the border, because I do want the border to sit up and the rest of it. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of foam tape, and I'm cutting just very skinny pieces of the foam tape, and I'm just going to place it along the corners of the border. You want to make sure that you get it so that you can't see the foam tape on the other side of your cardstock. So I'm just going to place a few pieces. And then I might place a piece or two just inside those pumpkins just to help them sit up a little bit. And that way everything's going to have a little bit of a 3D aspect to it. It's just going to give it a little more dimension. And like I said, you can glue it down if you want. You can use foam tape if you want. It's up to you. And we're just going to put some foam tape down. I'm going to get one more piece just on this board down here. And then all I want to do is peel the plastic backing off, which is just covering the other side of the adhesive. Now that I've got my foam tape on, all I want to do is line it up onto my black cardstock and then just gently press it down, and your card is ready to go. So fun, so cute, and you can write inside of it, write a little note, do whatever you want to do, put it in a little envelope, and send it off to your friends. We're going to be using these little Christmas gift tag stickers for this print and cut. It's super easy to do. All you have to do is, just like the other ones, click download. It's going to ask us where we want to save it. We're going to save it, and we're of course going to extract it. This is something important that you need to do for each file that you download from Creative Fabrica, so just keep that in mind, that this will be the same for each and every file. Once the file is fully extracted, we're going to head over to Design Space and upload some of the images. So over in Design Space, we're just going to click Upload, and we're going to then click Upload Image, which is right here on the left-hand side. Once you do that, you can either browse for your file, which I hate doing, or I'm going to drag and drop mine. All I simply have to do is open up that folder and choose this. Now, because we're doing print and cut, we want to use the PNG file. So we're going to drag it and drop it over into Design Space. Then just choose Complex, click Continue, and then on this page we don't have to do anything because the background's already transparent, so click Apply and Continue, and then you want to save the print and cut image, which is on the right hand side. It'll be the full color image once it decides to load. Go ahead and click that and click Upload. Now I'm going to upload a couple more images just so we have a couple different designs, and I'm going to show you how to lay them out onto Design Space. Once you have all of your images uploaded, just click on each one and you'll see a green box appear around the outside. Then simply click Add to Canvas. Now from here, these might take a minute to upload because they are pretty big files. They're high quality PNGs and Design Space is a little bit slow with those. So just give them a moment to upload. Now I'm going to go ahead and size these down for now just so we can see them better. And I'm just going to size them down to a width of 5 using the size option up here at the top. Now we'll size them again in just a minute because this is not the size we're going to keep them, but this is the size that currently we're going to use. Now I do want to go into my settings and check my paper size that I'm using. So click on your name and then you're going to click on the word settings. You want to go to load type at the top here, and then I want to make sure that my print and cut page is set to A4 because that's the size of the paper that we're using. I'm going to click done. Then all I want to do is resize these a bit because that's a little bit big for like a gift tag for me. In my opinion, I think that's a little bit large. But you can make them as big as you want. So I'm just going to kind of line them all up. They don't have to be perfect. Select everybody, and then I'm going to go to align, and I'm going to center them. That way everybody will be sized exactly the same. I'm going to go ahead and size these down to like 3.5 inches. I think that's just a little bit better of a size for what I want to use. Then all I'm going to do is lay them out, and I need to fit them into a specific space. So with the new Cricut Print and Cut, the sizing's a little bit funny, and sometimes it works one way and sometimes it doesn't. So what I like to do is I'm going to open up a shape and I'm going to open up a square. I'm going to unlock my square and I'm going to use the previous sizing for my print and cut, which was 6.75 by 9.25. I'm going to right click on this square and I'm going to send this to the back. Now from here, I'm going to figure out how many of these little cuts I can fit on this page. So what I'm going to do is I want to put them pretty close together and pretty close to the edge, but I don't need them to overlap. We definitely don't want any overlapping. I'm going to click on each one to select it while holding shift on my keyboard. I'm going to align them and I'm going to just align the left sides. Then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this one and place it down here at the bottom because obviously I can fit another one. I'm going to duplicate the deer and then I want to use the rotate option and I'm going to rotate them 90 degrees because I can definitely fit one right here as well. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the snowman and do the same thing. I'm going to rotate him using this rotate option 90 degrees, not 900. And then I should be able to fit him right here. Now we can obviously make some more and fit them in by sizing them a little different. So I'll just kind of squeeze a small tag in down here at this corner. And that should be pretty good. But honestly, if you want to really get the most out of your print and cut space and make these as big as you can, don't make this guy any bigger than, like wider than them. I'm going to go ahead and delete this square. I'm going to select my entire design and I'm going to flatten it. By flattening it, it's going to allow me to make it larger so I can print it as big as humanly possible on Cricut. So what I do is I expand this out and you'll see over here, eventually it's going to show me a little red exclamation point and it will tell me that I can't print that. It's too big. So you'll see here that when you click on it, it'll tell you it can be 6.51 inches wide by 9.94 inches tall. So I'm just going to size it down again. And just very gently kind of size it because sometimes it's not always right. Because I just had it at 6.55 and it was letting me do that. So I'm just going to take it back down to 6.55 and see if it'll let me do it. And if you can't get it exact, go ahead and just try it over here. Now you'll notice that I'm able to print bigger than that actually claimed that I could print. So you may want to play with it a little bit before you commit to like actually believing the Cricut print sizing. So from here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Make It to make my design. Now it's going to show me a screen, and this will show you exactly what it's going to print onto your paper. Now you could use cardstock for this, sticker paper, whatever you want to use, up to you. All I do is I just double check my material size is set correctly, and then I click Continue. Now from here, we're going to be printing our design. Keep in mind that the Cricut does nothing with the printing, it only cuts. So you'll need an outside printer for this, and I use an inkjet printer. I find that most materials work with inkjet. So go ahead and click Send to Printer, and it's going to open up this Print Setup box. Now you want to make sure again that you have the correct printer selected here, which is my ET2720. I only want one copy. I'm going to go ahead and leave this bleed on. What that does is it pushes the color of your sticker out just a little bit from the sides so that you're not going to end up with any white paper or colored paper behind it that isn't your print. Then I'm going to choose Use System Dialog. Now, from here, I'm going to click print, but it's not going to print. It's going to open up the preferences for my printer. This is a super important step so that you don't get like a bad print. You want to get a really nice print, and this is the way to do it. From here, you want to make sure, again, that same printer is selected. Click Preferences and just change a couple things. First, I'm going to change my document size to A4. I'm going to change my plain paper to Premium Presentation Paper Matte. Quality from standard to high, and just one more thing where I'm going to go to more options and turn off my high-speed print. Then I click OK and click print to send it to the printer. We're ready to cut out our print then cut stickers here, which we're using as our little, these are Christmas tags. I just thought they'd be really fun. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you load this design into your Cricut facing the way that it's facing in Design Space. So when you load it, I'll put it on a mat, but when you load it, you want to make sure that the top that is showing in Design Space is the top part that you're loading on to your Cricut machine. Now I am going to flip it backwards right now because I like to load mine by just keeping a little bit of the mat out and then putting this on to our mat. Now, you want to make sure that you get the paper pretty straight. My printer did not pull this in straight at all, so it should cut still okay because the Cricut will read the print registration marks, so you shouldn't have to worry about that too much. I'm going to cut this on the heavy cardstock setting because then it will cut out each of the individual images from the backing. That way it's just a little bit easier to use. It's up to you and how you want to cut them out, but I do recommend always doing test cuts when you're cutting with a new material. Before I unload my stickers, I'm going to peel back a corner and I'm just going to check, and they did not cut all the way through the backing like I wanted them to. So if that happens, which does happen sometimes, especially with like a thicker sticker paper, so to recut them, and if you want to keep them cutting on the exact same line, all you need to do is don't hit this unload button, this flashing arrow. You want to hit the Cricut logo button again. So go ahead and hit that. It will go ahead and recut them. If you unload them, it's not going to cut on the same line. Now I'm going to check my cut one more time and see if it cut all the way through. And this time it did. You can see that I'm peeling this back and the stickers are staying on the mat. You can go ahead and unload from here. And then I'm going to go ahead and close my machine, move it off to the side, and I'm going to show you how we're going to peel the stickers off. So the backing we're not going to reuse, so you can just peel that off just like you would anything and peel that back. But for the stickers, I want you to flip your mat over, and I want you to kind of bend your mat back a little bit, and then you're going to peel your stickers off like that way, and then they won't curl on you and be kind of pain to work with. So just kind of peel them off. This one should come off pretty easy. And then we have the ones over here. So again, I'm just going to bend my mat a little bit. You're not bending it so far that you're going to crack it, which if you watched, I did crack an old mat in one of the other sections of this video. But that happens. And then I've got this little tiny guy. So if you've got a little teeny tiny dude that's kind of hard to get to, you can either bend it or you can use like your tweezers or your pen. But I'll just bend it and see if I can get the edge of this sticker to come off. It's pretty small, so it should come off fine. Now we have these adorable little tags that we can use for our Christmas gifts. And look how fun they are. They're so stinking cute. And this is a really easy project that you can do to get used to using print and cut. Now remember, print and cut doesn't have to be used on just a sticker paper. It doesn't have to be just used on a printable vinyl or a printable HTV. This is a great option to use with cardstock. Anything that you can print on, you can tend to cut with your Cricut. So be sure to give some different materials a try. I really love using stickers. I hope that you guys picked up some great tips and tricks to working with your Cricut. And if you haven't gotten it out of the box yet, get it out of that box. You're not going to break the machine. It's really fun to play with. And just remember, we all still make mistakes and ruin materials, and it's totally okay. As you saw in this video, I even cracked a mat. So don't worry about it. Nobody's perfect, and the machine is made to come out and be played with. If you have any questions, let me know in those comments down below, or if there's something specific you'd like to see a video on, by all means, please let me know. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, happy crafting!